Welcome, everyone, to the debut edition of MC, True Long Island Story. I am your host, the internet champion, always ready, Matt Cardona.
Yeah, and I'm also here, Smart Mark Sterling, your producer of the Major Pod Network, and I'm excited to talk about this. I'm excited. We talked about it in the trailer episode, but here we are, episode 1.
Yeah, and what's so, I don't know what the word is, not ironic, but what's the word here? That exactly 10 years ago, to the day that this podcast comes out,
yeah,
I recorded the first ever Z True Long Island Story. What's the word? It's not ironic. It's we say figure fate. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. It's figure fate.
Weird coincidence.
Weird.
Well, not a coincidence because we planned the drop.
Right. It's neat, and there's more things like that we're gonna, in my research, I figured it out. There's just like so many weird to the day type things. So we'll talk about that. Let's
get a couple things out of the way. First of all, guys, you're either listening to the podcast.
Yep.
Or you're watching on YouTube.
What's up?
What's up, guys, if you're watching on YouTube? So this is going to both places. Originally, I wanted to do a reunion episode that would drop today, a reunion video, and Mark and I loosely discussed it, but we didn't get that far along in the planning, and then Mark presented this idea of the podcast, which I loved, which will hopefully lead to a reunion episode. Mm-hmm. So this was going to be strictly MC, True Long Island Story, the podcast. And then I said, well, why not put it on YouTube, because we have to record it anyway, and we do the Zoom anyway to record ourselves. Why not put it on YouTube? So guys, if you're looking for skits, there's no skits here. This is just us recording the podcast. And if you're listening to the podcast, if you want to watch us talking about it, go to youtube.com/Major Pod Network. Not my old YouTube channel, only here on youtube.com/Major Pod Network.
I think it just makes sense, the YouTube, really. I mean, that's where the show started. That's where this revolution began, so we'll bring it back.
So is this a sequel? What is this?
I think this is a spin-off, kind of.
Spin-off.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that.
Spin-off YouTube podcast, for sure.
Yeah. So I think we should kind of almost redo the trailer a little bit. So people are just tuning in now. What is this? So Mark, I'll let you explain it the way you pitched it to me.
Okay, so this is like a big thing in podcasts now, where people who sort of lived a show or a movie sort of like years later go back and really talk about the ins and the outs of the creating of that show. You can't really necessarily like be talking about the making of Breaking Bad while Breaking Bad's happening. However, years later, you can revisit that. And people are doing it now. Like, you love Entourage, the podcast. You turn that on. You turned me on to that.
Victory the podcast.
Victory
Everybody
the podcast.
listen to that, guys.
It's so great. If you like Entourage.
Right.
I personally love The Office ladies. They do the same thing. They break down The Office episodes. It's so funny. And I thought you should do the same thing for the first 100 episodes of Z True Long Island Story and talk about just like the journey that you had making these episodes, but also the behind the scenes of making the episodes. A lot changes in 100 episodes. It's 2 years.
Yeah, so when you presented the idea to me, I thought instantly, this is great. And then I thought, wait a minute. Z True Long Island Story and Entourage aren't exactly the same thing. But I still think it will be fun. A deep dive, episode by episode, exactly 10 years later.
Yep.
We're not doing any of these in advance. None in the can. It's actually going to be 10 years later.
Yep.
And this isn't going to be like a bitter, negative, anti-WWE podcast. If you're looking for that, just turn it off. It's going to be my story and my version of the story. Will there be some drama? Absolutely. And I'll tell my version of it. But for the most part, this is just, it's a story, right? And it's a beautiful story of 100 episodes. And really, if I can inspire just one person to take a chance and bet on themselves, then this whole thing will be worth it.
Right. Well, you don't want to say it, but I mean, did the same amount of people watch this show that they watched Entourage? Probably not. But in the wrestling world, to professional wrestlers, to wrestling fans, this was a big deal and really shaped the future content. People that are creating content and getting themselves over on the internet now, a lot of people credit you. And this is not me saying that. That's not you saying that. That is people saying that.
Right.
So this was an important thing in professional wrestling, and we'll talk about that. And I have a lot of questions that go with that. But So
yeah, I mean, without the show, first of all, we wouldn't be here doing this show.
Right.
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 I don't think I know for sure my WWE career wouldn't have been as long. It wouldn't have been as successful. And I wouldn't have, I always say still here. I wouldn't have the staying power if it wasn't for that show and the connection I built with the audience, my fans, who are still with me to this day. So I thank them very much. But we'll get into all that. And, I just watched episode 1 back like 15 minutes ago. I have notes.
Yep.
Cringe City.
My God.
But I have a bad memory, but I think watching these episodes will be almost like me writing a book. This podcast will be my book, and maybe I'll write a book afterwards. But I said in the trailer that I had never watched all 100 episodes back, except for the time I made episode 100. I watched them all back 1 through 99 to take notes and to, I did like a montage in the beginning. But since then, which was I think 2013, I haven't watched them back. Maybe I watched episode 100 back once or twice. And I just watched episode 1 back when you told me about this idea. So I've watched that twice in the past month. But other than that, I'm not going to watch these in advance. I'm going to do it every single week with you guys. And I encourage you to do that. Hopefully WWE doesn't take them down. We'll figure something out. But the first 50, I believe, are on my old YouTube channel, which is still my channel, youtube.com/the Matt Cardona. Except I guess I do have creative control of the channel.
Right.
But Mark, you can explain to the people, since Zack Ryder was a WWE IP, and we'll get into this in further episodes, like they flagged the channel and the majority of the videos on that channel. So that's why this series is on the Major Pod Network. So we get the money.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And then I think later on you were showing some footage. You would use footage and pictures of WWE, so then they would flag that stuff, obviously. But it's interesting, the episodes that they did flag, that are just Zack Ryder stuff or whatever. So it's on there. The other thing that I did want to mention, there's a lot of podcasts out there that talk about historical wrestling things. And it's really insane to me to think that 2011 was 10 years ago.
That's the most bizarre part about it. 10 years.
That's a long time ago. And the wrestling business has changed insane. There was no AEW 10 years ago. There was TNA was on TV, like main TV. WWE was firing on all cylinders. So this is like a snapshot of pro wrestling as well in the year 2011, which is interesting through the eyes of you.
When I started this podcast, when I started the YouTube show, I was 25. Like the 10-year gap between me being 15 and 25 felt like eternity. But the 10-year gap between 25 and 35, like a snap of a finger.
For sure. Yeah,
it's crazy.
100%. Yeah.
So,
all right.
Yeah, Mark, I have some notes. But
okay.
You're the producer here. I said, hey, if we're going to do this, you got to do the Conrad research.
Yeah. All right. So I feel like for this one, we really have to go back and figure out like why we got to the point that we did. So February 17th, 2011, you launch this podcast show, which is also interesting. And we'll talk about this in a year from now. But I just saw on Twitter that 9 years ago was when you got thrown off the stage. So it's just so many of these 10 years, 9 years, like these weird things that happen.
Yeah. So we don't own the footage, right? It's very complicated. Like I have all the original footage. Like I just booted up my old laptop. It worked because I wanted to see, okay, when did I actually film episode 1? And I filmed it on February 17th, 2011. I must have did it and put it up that day.
Holy cow. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about that.
So I have like that footage. So it's weird. Like, I mean, I made that myself. How do I not own that? But I don't own the published footage.
And the character, which is weird.
It's very confusing. So I don't know what we're going to do. Some
if only you knew a lawyer,
Yeah. Prisco. No. So for now, we'll do some screenshots. So guys, this podcast, just like the original YouTube show, just like the Major Wrestling podcast, it will evolve.
Yeah.
Right? It will evolve over time. So stay tuned.
First thing before we get into this, you want to talk about the Broski of the Week?
Yeah, I'm gonna bring back the Broski of the Week, starting with next week. Actually, Actually, you know what? Starting with today, Mark, you are the broski of the week. I know you tried so many times during the old school era, but Mark, you are officially the broski of the week.
Awesome. Thank you.
But going forward,
Yeah.
to be the broski of the week, leave a review on this podcast, 5 stars, please, and screenshot it and tweet it to us. Tweet to us using the hashtag broski of the week.
Perfect.
And I will choose one, and you will be the broski of the week, and I will send you a broski of the week magnet.
Phenomenal. Oh,
Actually, it's a sticker. It's a sticker. I'm sorry, guys. It's a sticker.
Did you accidentally buy the sticker?
No, I figured more people use stickers, I think, than magnets.
Okay. All right. And then I really want to talk about your career, and we've talked about it on a lot of podcasts. Look, guys, I don't know if you know this, but we do the Major Wrestling Figure podcast together.
Yeah. Check it out.
We've talked about this stuff many times all over the place, Patreon, et cetera, et cetera. So if you listen to that, we might rehash some things, but we anticipate a lot of new listeners here. So I will tell you, I am Mark Sterling. I am the producer of the Major Wrestling Figure podcast, Major Pod Network. I'm also an independent professional wrestler, the most famous professional wrestling lawyer. I am a former filmmaker, and I used to be a marketing manager. So that's who I am. And me and Matt met through Brian. I was one of Brian's students, and then we started.
Brian Myers, Kurt Hawkins, for those who don't know.
Yes, we started the Major Wrestling Figure podcast together. So yada, yada, yada. 3 years later, here we are. All right. So you were obsessed with wrestling your whole life, and just knew that you always wanted to be a pro wrestler. Was there a moment that flipped there? All the awesome pictures of you with figures and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I always wanted to be a wrestler. People always ask, like, what was the first wrestling figure you got? Or what's your first memory, the first match you watched? I don't remember because I was so young. Just my entire life, even as a baby, just playing with the wrestling figures, watching it. So I don't recall the very first, but every memory I have from childhood involves wrestling, whether it be going to wrestling shows, playing with wrestling figures, or dressing up as a wrestler and wrestling with my brother and the wrestling buddies on my parents' bed, and I just never grew out of it. So many kids did, and then, with the Attitude Era, they came back, but then they fell out again, and I didn't.
Yep.
And that's when I discovered backyard wrestling, and I took backyard wrestling really, really serious, which is
so. But you were
bizarre.
doing fig feds that were very serious first, and then
I wrestling fig feds where I'd book my own storylines. Wrestling was my life. And especially when it wasn't popular, that's when I got more invested. Like, the figures became like an obsession to me, not just collecting them, but forming these figure feds and booking these storylines. And then later,
how annoyed were you when people didn't want to come to the backyard show and be like, well, we're this new video game came out and they didn't want to come, and you're like, how could you not want to?
Yeah,
come?
I mean, there's a couple guys who fell out of it, but for the majority, the roster stayed the same.
Yeah,
But even with the backyard wrestling, I took it so seriously because I just loved it. I loved wrestling. I knew that was the only thing I ever wanted to do with my life. And then when it came to, college and applying to colleges and the pressure and what am I going to do when I grow up, like, I'm going to be a wrestler. I'm going to wrestle for WWE. Everyone thought I was crazy. And they were right. I mean, looking back, when I'm a senior in high school, I think I did wrestle in high school. I sucked. I didn't take it seriously. I was doing tilt-a-whirl, like head scissors in the back of the room, or tornado DDTs or whatever.
Yeah.
But I was like 160 pounds. And back then it was definitely a big man's business.
Yeah.
But, I just had that dream, and I'm not right now, I conditioned myself to be positive, but back then I definitely wasn't. I'm not a naturally positive person, but for some reason I just knew I am going to be a professional wrestler.
All right. So beyond that though, where is your confidence level then? I'm going to be a successful professional wrestler. It's easy to say I will train and have a few matches, but were you I'm going to be in the WWE. I'm going to be a champion. Was that kind of
100%?
Really?
100%. I would do matches. I'll never forget having matches with myself, the Invisible Man, wrestling the Invisible Man, pretending it was Edge and we're at WrestleMania. You know, and then it's so crazy that years later I'm helping him or trying to help him at a WrestleMania.
Right.
But I told myself when I signed up to wrestling school when I was 18, I'm like, I'll give myself till I'm 30 before I make it. before I figure out what I want to do. I didn't want to, go to college and party. I didn't want to, be a cop or a teacher. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
That's just not what I wanted to do. I didn't want a plan B. I wanted to just go full steam ahead.
Right. So then, you go from backyard, you train at NYWC. You're not really training or on the indies for very long. I think we figured it out the other day, 2 years until you get signed. What about on the indies? Same mentality, like this is just a pit stop, like.
Oh yeah. Once I met Brian and we became a tag team. I knew, okay, we got to get to WWE. It was always my goal to be in WWE. I told this story on a major podcast where NYWC, the indie promotion that we came from, they wanted to split us up, and I would go for the interstate title, get my big interstate title push. And I'm like, no, because I want to keep teaming with Brian. I don't want to just wrestle once a month in front of my friends and family here at NYWC. I want to, wrestle elsewhere, make a name for myself, get to WWE.
Right. That was your meal ticket, the tag team.
Yeah. And Brian and I, we were getting a lot of flack on the indies for being too WWE,
right.
Which I never really took as an insult. Duh.
Right. Right.
That's where I want to be. And we even were going to be almost giving into that and be called Myers and Matthews Entertainment, because my name was Brett Matthews on the indies. He was Brian Myers. And we're going to take the WWE logo, flip it upside down, and be Myers and Matthews Entertainment. And before we could even start that, we got signed.
Was there any this Zack Ryder character that launches the YouTube show? Is there any of that on the indies? Are you doing that at all? Kind
of as a heel, because Brian and I were these white meat baby faces, and it sucked. It sucked. It sucked. You know what I'm saying? It just sucked.
Yeah, for sure.
And then when we were able to be heels, I'm wearing the headband there, the glasses, the tanning, all that stuff. So
the boy band stuff, yeah.
The blonde tips. It's all kind of there. The purple, it's all there.
Right. All right. So then, which is very interesting, you said you launched this February 17th, but February 24th, 2006, 5 years before you launched the show, you're signed.
That's why I have you, because I didn't even know that. I knew it was February.
And then 2 years, you're in developmental, whatever. You guys are still tagging, right?
Yeah, so that was a weird thing, because the signing, there was a WWE.com application for a tryout before a house show. They don't really do those. I think there was only a handful at the time. And Mikey Whipwreck, I believe, because Tommy Dreamer was working in the talent relations department for WWE, I think Mikey Whipwreck let Tommy know that we had applied, and he kind of got us to the tryout at least.
Yeah.
And at the tryout, I thought we sucked. I thought we did horrible. I thought it wasn't good. But at the time, I was 20 years old, and I thought to myself, well, you know what? I got my first look by WWE at 20. I'll be fine. I'll get another one soon.
Right. I'm sure they saw young guys, athletic, putting on a good hold, that kind of thing.
I think it also helped that we were wearing matching gear.
Right.
And they got to sign somebody. Who are they going to sign? Well, let's just sign the tag team guys. I don't know. We were young enough, and that's what developmental at the time was. You just take a bunch of guys, and hopefully some of them stick.
Right. For sure. Well, you do that for 2 years. I'm sure it felt like a very, very long time.
So that's another thing. It was so weird. So it's really just 1 year at Deep South Wrestling in McDonough, Georgia. And then Deep South Wrestling closes, and they send the majority of the people to FCW, which is just forming. Mm-hmm. And then they send a handful of us to OVW. But literally in that week of moving to OVW, we debut on the main roster.
Okay.
And we're like, do we still have to go to OVW? Well, yeah, you do. So we went to OVW for another 6 or 7 months.
Right.
So.
And when you say main roster, was that ECW or?
ECW, which then we got traded to SmackDown in the trade. So we're a main roster, we're SmackDown, ECW, whatever, and OVW at the same time.
Right. And then the first thing you're doing is that exact thing you hated, which was that white meat babyface tag team.
So that's what we were doing in Deep South Wrestling. And it was working because it was the South, it was McDonough, Georgia. It was working. But every week or every other week, we'd have something called Promo Day, where we would you get a 1 minute promo, and they would send it to the office, the WWE office, the writers. Who knows if they're watching? You think they are, whatever. Right. And we were pitching to be like the saviors of tag team wrestling, almost like Rougeau Brothers style, where we're so over the top babyface that we're heels.
Right.
That's what we were pitching, and that's the skits we were doing, and that's how we thought we were getting called up. But no, you're just white meat babyface Major Brothers again
on ECW, which doesn't have a tag team title.
It was supposed to have a tag team division. It didn't happen.
Right.
So that was a flop. Moved to SmackDown, a flop.
Right.
And also, we were still at OVW at the time, and thank God we were, because we knew that the writers were coming down to like check out everybody. And we went up to Michael Hayes, who was at SmackDown. We said, I know you guys are coming down tomorrow. What do you want to see from us? We're already here. And he said, like, show me something different. That was a horrible impersonation. But that's when we already were thinking of doing or pitching this Edgehead gimmick based on Entourage. Like we would be like almost a turtle and a drama, or two turtles, whatever. Right. The Edge being Vinny Chase.
Yeah.
And we had all the gear, the shirts, the hats, whatever. And the next day at OVW, we came out to the Edge music. We pitched it. The writers loved it. Now
when you say gear, like you literally own Edge merch?
It was like our Major Brother gear, but we had like Edge t-shirt or the Edge hat, the beanie, whatever it was. And then we cut a promo. I think it was like a fake phone call, like getting Edge's coffee order or something like that.
Okay.
So the next step was having to get Edge to like it and to want to do it, because he didn't need us. We needed him. And luckily, he brought us on board, or else we probably would have been released in 2007.
Well, how does that go? Like, how do you...
I think Brian got his email and sent him an email.
edge@gmail.com. Yep.
Whatever it is, yeah.
Okay. Wow. And then so he seemingly just like was like, who the watched this crappy thing that you sent, like filmed on?
I don't even know if he saw that, but I think he, saw the vision of what it could be.
Right. I see.
Because we had pitched to do whatever happened at that Armageddon pay-per-view, pretty much exactly like that. Maybe there's a couple minor differences, but where we're dressed as Edge, we come out from under the ring. You think Undertaker's beating up Edge. You think Batista's beating up Edge. But no, the real Edge is untouched and ends up winning the title. And that's what happened.
Right. So I said February 24th, 2006 is when you get signed. December 16th, 2007. So not even 2 years. That's when you start the Edgeheads. Whatever, great run, La Familia, phenomenal. You guys get a figure out of it.
Yeah,
just very recently.
Time is moving, but time is like on our side. We're so young, but we're also so naive that we think, oh wow, we're with Edge. We just ran in the main event of WrestleMania 24, helping Edge. I bet next year at WrestleMania it's gonna be a triple threat. Edgeheads explode, and that's not what happened. The Edgeheads were over. We were still Hawkins and Ryder. We weren't with Edge, and we were Lumberjacks in the pre-show tag team match. So what a fall from grace.
Well, you say naive, but I just see that confidence that you're talking about, where you just know that there's going to be some sort of success, So like, I guess it's a little naive, little confidence, whatever, to think that. But Edge gets hurt. You guys are kind of like just still the Edge guys. You win the tag team titles randomly.
We're just the Edge guys. Even Shawn Michaels on TV calls us the Edge guys because he forgets our names. And I don't blame him, because for a while we were just literally dressing in Edge's gear, when the original plan was to do that Edge thing that one night and then have our own gear made. We had the gear made, but then they decided just keep wearing the Edge stuff. And by the time they decided to let us be our own guys, it was too late. We were just the jabroni Edgehead guys, the guys that looked like Edge. We were Hawkins and Ryder, but which one was Hawkins? Which one was Ryder?
Yep.
It was.
So
ridiculous.
Speaking of that, let's back up a little bit, because I think this is important. Zack Ryder. Originally, you are the Major Brothers.
Yes.
Then that changes to just the Majors, right?
So I get to Deep South. I'm Brett Matthews.
Yep.
On the Indies. Brian Myers is Brian Myers.
Yep.
At this time, they are changing everybody's names, right? So I need, I want to be Brett something with an M because it's on my boots. I have one pair of boots has the BM on it. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
So Matt Stryker comes up with the name Majors.
Yep.
Brett Majors. Okay, I like that.
Right.
And then we presented to Bill DeMott, and Bill DeMott's like, yeah, Brett and Brian Majors, the Major brothers. Wait, what? We're brothers?
Well,
yeah,
you guys
you're
look
twins.
alike. Now,
What?
now you couldn't look any different. Like you guys look so different. But back
So,
then, man,
I guess the story was we were the kind of twins that don't look alike, not identical.
I thought you looked like, but
Right.
sure. Long
so
hair.
it was
blonde.
Majors brothers, which is kind of like a tongue twister.
Majors brothers. Oof.
Yeah, so we do one night of ECW as the Majors brothers, and then it switches. No, you're the Major brothers, which I actually like better.
Thank God.
So I'm Brett Major. He's Brian Major. We do the Edgehead thing, and I guess in the meeting on SmackDown the next week or 2 days later, whatever, Vince McMahon finds out that we're not really brothers. Okay?
Okay.
So he wants us to, tell the world our real names, but of course not our real names, our fake real names.
So
we
when
have a
the
couple
first time
hours.
you show up with Edge, you are technically Brett and Brian Major.
Yes. And
Okay.
then we walk out to the ring with him on SmackDown as the Major brothers.
Okay.
And in the ring, we announce who we really are.
Okay.
And I announce that I'm Zack Ryder and that he is Kurt Hawkins.
How long did you have to come up with Zack Ryder?
A few hours.
Okay.
At first, I knew I wanted to be Zach, Z-A-C-K from Zach Morris. And originally, I was going to be Zach McKay, like Dylan McKay. Zach McKay. And then somehow it got switched to Ryder. Because, we wrote a bunch of first and last names up, what sounds the best.
Yep.
And then I knew I wanted to be Z-A-C-K, not H, and R-Y-D-E-R. And that was approved. And that's what it was.
Okay. And Ryder didn't come from, it was just like, well, that sounds nice.
I can't recall where that came from.
Got it. All right. So back, you guys are the Edgeheads. You're kind of floundering. You win the tag team titles randomly, which is neat, but whatever. And then
We're literally paper champions. We're still technically with Edge when we win them.
Yep.
Hometown, Long Island, New York, we win them. Awesome, right?
Great match.
But the nameplate they give us is paper. It's literally a paper nameplate, and they never switch it out. So when we lose them, it's still paper.
Okay.
So we're literally paper champions.
Right.
So I guess we lose them as soon as like Edge gets injured.
Okay. Right. Now,
So then at that point, we're told we have a meeting with Vince McMahon, and we're told we're going to split you guys up. We're going to send you to Stanford to have these meetings with the writers. We're going to come up with new things. Okay. I'm cool with that. It never happens though. We keep
Right.
getting brought to random TVs to lose against like Kung Fu Naki in singles action, or lose to Finley and Hornswoggle, or lose to Great Khali in handicap matches. So we're still on TV. We're still Hawkins and Ryder, but we're just like two guys. And then
Right.
that's when we started pitching. Okay. I started doing the woo, woo, woo stuff because
Right.
I wanted to be as different from Brian as possible. So I was going to be over the top. He was going to kind of be like the straight man. You know what I'm saying? And we actually put up this video. It's on the Major Pod Network YouTube channel of
Yeah.
our original pitch.
right. The skit that you guys shot. So
Yeah.
I'll put the link to that in the description of these, but
Yeah.
it's
My
worth
cousin
checking
John
out.
Gravina, he edited that. Big props.
Oh, nice.
So it was on the radar, but nothing was happening, And then when there's a draft that year and I get drafted to ECW, Brian stays on SmackDown. And that's where it's like, okay, we're going to do your idea, Matt, or Zach, whatever, but without Brian.
Okay.
So I think we were both fine with it. We knew it needed to happen. And it was nerve-wracking because I'd only had a handful of singles matches my whole life. I'd been with Brian since basically when I started.
Wow. That's
So
true.
it was nerve-wracking, but I knew this was my opportunity, especially on ECW, I had a blank canvas, so to speak. So I could be, who is Zack Ryder? And I drew it. I think my mom still has it framed at the house. One-legged tights, orange, spiked hair, the sunglasses, because I was 22, 23 at the time. I was going out to the club on Long Island, New York City, and I saw all these guys that I hated, these douchebags, these like Long Island douchebags wearing the sunglasses inside, the pop collars, the little chin strap beards, the diamond stud earrings. I hated these guys, but I knew I could do this on television.
Right.
This is before Jersey Shore.
For Heat.
I hate when people say,
Right.
"Oh, you're a Jersey Shore ripoff," or "change that Jersey Shore gimmick." No, It was my gimmick.
Right.
It was my gimmick.
So May 5th, 2009 is when you debuted the Zack Ryder character. Now, you cut your hair for this.
Yeah, and that's was something that I wanted to do with Hawkins. I wanted to cut the hair because I knew we were just two guys that people thought were the edge guys. So with this is my chance. I knew, okay, if they don't know my name, they're going to know I'm either the one-legged tights guy or the woo-woo-woo guy.
Right.
And that was fine. At least they knew something. At least they knew who I was.
That makes a lot of sense. You sort of have to stand out if somebody's just looking at you for 10 seconds.
Right.
So was there any backlash to the hair cutting? Or did you just get permission to do that?
No, I got permission.
Okay.
I got permission. Yeah.
Like, I'm going to cut my hair and spike it and tan myself like even more and do the one-legged tights.
Yeah.
They're like, okay.
I remember the one-legged tights thing. A lot of the writers were hesitant. They wanted me to wear jeans and like a button-down shirt, pop collar, like I'm going to the club. But then, like, when I take the shirt off, I'd be wearing jeans. What am I, like Jimmy Wang Yang? What's the difference? So I really wanted this one-legged tights thing. And they said, like, go talk to Vince about it. And I went up to Vince while he was, like, busy, doing rehearsals. And, like, I showed Vince, and he, like, I don't know what he said. But basically, he didn't say, wow, this is great. I love it. He said something like, whatever. And I said, oh, Vince loves it. I just spun it. You know what I'm saying?
That's such a you
So
thing
I
to
did
do.
ask him technically, or I said, hey, Vince, I'm going to wear it, whatever it was.
Yeah.
He didn't say no, but he didn't say, like, I love it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It makes total sense, and I can see you doing it.
Yeah.
He loved it. So I said May 5th, 2009. ECW ends February of 2010. But that 1 year, that's a pretty big push there for you in ECW.
It was awesome. It was awesome for me. I do think looking back, obviously, you can't live in regret. I do wish, I was in better shape. I do wish I was a little bit bigger. I do wish, my wrestling skills were a little sharper. But that's a lot of people, they grow in high schools and bingo halls on the indies. I'm growing on live TV. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't change that experience for the world. So
You're still having tons of live event matches and all that stuff.
And I was having great matches. Guys like Christian, Regal, Tommy Dreamer. The learning experience I was getting was invaluable, and I was gaining confidence because I was getting promo time. I was able to work on the character, and like even like the Zack Ryder one-legged tights guy, woo-woo guy, like even he evolves in the ECW days because like in the beginning I'm just playing like the Long Island douchebag, and by the end it's me with some Long Island douchebag in it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like I incorporate more of me
Right.
as opposed to playing the Long Island douchebag.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah.
So great run there. Obviously, like you said, great feuds with some people that really taught you. Still talk about Christian to this day, et cetera, et cetera. Now, February 2010, we talk about February a lot. February 2010 is the death of ECW. And you are now on SmackDown, right?
Raw. So
Raw. So now you go to Raw. But this is like the 1 year that there is nothing. You were doing so great.
I was devastated because I felt like every year of my career, 2003, I start.
Okay.
2004, I have my first match. 2005, I wrestle in Madison Square Garden as an extra, which at the time I thought was the biggest deal in the world.
Okay.
Yep.
2006,
I get signed. 2007, I make my WWE debut. 2000,
Yep.
I keep like 2008, I'm at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
2009, I do the woo-woo-woo. 2010, you know what I'm saying? Nothing.
Nothing all year. Superstars matches, random stuff.
I'm on Raw a lot. And I really, I knew that I was in trouble as soon as I get to Raw and there was like a triple threat match it was a Money in the Bank qualifier. And, I heard early in the day that it was going to be me versus MVP versus Mark Henry, and they were teaming at the time. Now, listen, this is all pure speculation.
Okay.
In my head, I'm thinking like, oh my God, like something's going to happen where there's miscommunication, and I beat one of them to qualify and go to Mania and Money in the Bank, right?
Right.
But then this is just me speculating. I have no idea, right? But throughout the day, it gets changed straight up. Me versus MVP, I lose.
Huh.
So I'm thinking like, and I have no idea what happened.
Yep.
I'm not saying I was supposed to win. Maybe I was supposed to lose the triple threat match. I don't know.
Right.
But once I didn't qualify for Money in the Bank, I knew there are no plans for me on this brand.
I see. Okay. So that's 1 year of sort of nothing. Now, I just want to read this out to you. Maybe jog your memory. And about 2011. So 2011 starts. You're in the Royal Rumble.
Okay.
That's pretty neat, right? Now, I'm going to tell you all your matches leading up to this debut show. Okay, here's what Zack Ryder is doing in 2011. You got the Royal Rumble. Then on 131-11, David Hart Smith and Yoshi Tatsu defeat Primo and Zack Ryder in 12 minutes. Okay, that's a house show.
That's got to...
Superstars, sorry.
Yeah.
Superstars. Then at a house show, Mark Henry defeats Zack Ryder. Then at a house show, R-Truth defeats Zack Ryder. Then on a dark match at Raw, Percy Watson defeats Zack Ryder. Then at a house show, Primo defeats Zack Ryder. This is 2-11-11. 2-12-11, Primo defeats Zack Ryder. 2-13-11, Mark Henry defeats Zack Ryder in California. And then 2-15-11, Santino Marella and Vladimir Kozlov defeat Primo and Zack Ryder on Superstars episode number 97 in San Diego, California. Any memory of that run leading up to the show?
Not really. I mean, like you said, it was nothing great. I will say I had a couple, good matches on there, a couple of glimmers of hope. And I remember Jericho pulled me aside and said, you got to get out of that one-legged tight thing. It worked. It was a gimmick. It got you noticed, but now you got to be taken more serious. And he was completely right. And I switched to the trunks. I think at that time I start teaming with Primo on like Superstars, and then we're called DZP, like Down with Zach and Primo. By this time, like Jersey Shore is popular, very popular. So I'm confused why they're not using me.
Yeah.
But and I would do stuff with like the celebrities on the show, like Johnny Knoxville or Buzz Aldrin or Ashton Kutcher. I do stuff like that, but I'm never, it's never about me, never for me. And that's fine. It's never going to, not everyone can be world champion. Not everyone can be undefeated. But I just wasn't happy with what I was doing. And like we said earlier, every year I was accomplishing something. I felt like I didn't really accomplish anything. And I needed to at least try to change that.
All right. Now, here we are. What is the genesis of the creation of this show? Why? What was the initial idea? And then, like, who were you getting your inspiration from?
So, where is it? I had it here somewhere. Okay. It all starts with this flip camera.
Okay.
I got this for Christmas that year. I had asked for it. I knew that I wanted it for something. I didn't know. I knew I wanted to do something, start filming something, documenting something. I didn't quite know what it was going to be. And then, like, obviously, I'm sure. Listen, I wasn't the first person to have a web show, a YouTube show.
Right. You say that a lot.
WWE.com had their own things. I wasn't the first person on social media. No way.
Mrs. Morrison were like doing some cool stuff at the time, right?
But I thought, like, what if I start this YouTube show almost as an advertisement for myself?
Right.
Not to be a YouTube guy, but to kind of, get myself over.
Sure.
To prove that I have personality, to prove that, I bring something to the table. And you watch episode 1, I'm trying to be funny. I'm trying to do skits. It's so bad. It's so cringeworthy bad.
We'll talk about that.
But that's just what it was. It was like, okay, this is my outlet. You know what I'm saying? My creative outlet and my chance to shine. And I knew this was at a time where, like, you couldn't really do things on your own. And I knew that the whole time I just wanted to create some buzz. I didn't want to be bitter. I wanted to just create buzz, be controversial. And if that buzz got me fired, then so be it. I wanted to get noticed or get fired. I didn't want to get fired. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to get noticed by WWE.
Right.
But I knew if I did get fired, I would have buzz to go to TNA or go do something else.
Sure.
So it was just create buzz. Get noticed or get fired, but just create buzz.
How much thought went into like what you were going to do on this show, like formats and things like that? Or was it just like, I'm just going to do this?
I mean, for that particular episode, I don't quite remember. Like I said, I found the old laptop. It worked. So I have it all. Like I want to watch that back to see if there's anything that didn't make the episode. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And maybe
do you have all the footage like on a drive or on a laptop somewhere?
For
like
episode one, I do. For episode one, I do.
Okay.
I don't know for every other episode. I got to check.
Okay.
So I don't quite recall like what of course I must have had some sort of plan. And then going forward, obviously it progresses and, there's a formats and I'm writing it all week and I'm taking it very, very seriously. And I'm taking it seriously here. I just don't know what it's going to become.
It's interesting how like, further on in the show, you get so like married to like the open, this segment, that segment, your outro is the same. I always love that as somebody who's like OCD. So
I think around this time I start watching somebody on YouTube called Ray William Johnson.
Okay.
And he had a show called Equals 3. And I just love that there was a format.
Right.
They all started the same. They all ended the same. And throughout the show, you didn't know what you were going to see, but you knew what you were going to see. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. 100%.
And that's what I was going for with this.
Yes. It like makes you feel better when you know what you're getting into.
Right.
Yeah. So you talked about was there a specific, I read you those matches because I wanted to see if anything jogged. Like, are you sitting like catering in like Bakersfield, California, and you're just like eating this bad chicken and you're like, this has to happen? Or
I don't know.
It built up.
I was booked on not every Lupa Live events, but some. And, I probably work 90% of the TVs, whether it be Raw or Superstars.
Right.
But if I'm home, I was bored, and I lived, if you know anything about Long Beach, New York, that's where I was living at the time.
Yeah.
And Long Beach, New York is like 25 minutes away from civilization, which like at that time felt like eternity. So like nobody wanted to come into Long Beach and I didn't want to like leave Long Beach. I'd be like just sitting in my apartment all day. And it was like the winter time and there's like nothing to do. And it's like, it's dark early. And I just wanted to like be productive. I think I was just like bored sitting home,
Yeah, for sure. All right, you want to talk about this first episode?
Yeah, so I got some notes. First thing that stands out to me, no backdrop. I'm just
you even mentioned it in the episode, so it was on your mind.
Yeah, I'm just sitting in my I guess living room, dining room of my apartment at the time in Long Beach.
No logo, it just fades up to you. You awkwardly don't say anything for 2 seconds.
Full disclosure, the whole time I edit everything myself.
Okay.
I teach myself how to use iMovie, which is on the MacBook.
Right.
So it has like the cheesy little transitions.
Horrible. Every time that you stop speaking, you do like a weird long transition, which are full like 2 seconds.
Well, and I think that becomes like a signature of the show, those transitions.
It's kind of like Star Wars has those bad like clock wipes.
And like I was just learning how to do just putting the files from the flip camera to the computer was like mind blowing to figure it out. Or once I did figure it out.
Brian still doesn't know how to do that.
Yeah.
So episode 1, 935,370 views on it right now.
I just watched that. So I just looked that up. Actually, looked that up. Take a shot. So why I think that has so many more views than the others?
Well, people want to jump in and see the first thing.
Well, I don't necessarily think that. I think because when people heard about the show, even WWE people, they would just type in, and that's the first thing that pop up. That's why it gets so many views.
Right, for sure.
And like I always hated that because the worst one. What's up?
It's the worst one.
It's like one of the worst ones.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
exactly.
If by like episode 30, I'm trying to get Vince McMahon to watch, and he watches that one, well, that's not what I want you to watch.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I know exactly what you mean.
I'm just speaking hypothetically.
I feel the same way. I mean, our Major Wrestling Figure podcasts have gotten better. If somebody's jumping in, hopefully
and
they
this one is going to be cringeworthy where people will listen to episode 30.
Right, exactly.
This. But yeah, so what stood out to me was the no backdrop and also the shirt I was wearing.
Okay.
So I'm wearing a basic shirt. It was called Basic on the WWE shop or the shop zone at the time. So like an authentic shirt, let's say it's like $25. I want to say these are like 20 or 15 or 12, something like that. It's a discount shirt.
Okay.
So I must have been doing something right on social media where I was getting enough people asking to make a shirt that they made me this. They threw me a bone.
Okay, this is your first WWE shirt, and you're plugging it hard on this.
I'm plugging it hard. And what I literally did is I mailed an autograph to everybody who bought a shirt who took a picture wearing it.
Right.
Legitimately, I had all these Topps cards, and I'd sign the cards, and I would mail them out. And I did that.
So somebody would reach out to you on Twitter, and then you would, same as you do now, you'd send them a message, be like, what's your address, and send it to them?
Yep. Now, it was easier to do because there wasn't that many people buying them, but still enough where
Right.
it was picking up steam.
I think that's one of the coolest things about this first episode. And we'll talk about this a lot in the future, I think. The audience participation
Was
becoming
pivotal.
like joining the writer revolution, or like, being on your team is really what makes people, I think, watch this show. And you did that right away, where
Right.
you've given now the people watching it not just entertainment, but something to do.
Yeah, and that the interaction was key, especially with that shirt. When that shirt came out, I remember. So I bought them off WWE Shop, and I would wear them on TV or Superstars or whatever, and it would be like my shirt that I bought. And I was looking through like old emails because I still have my old Hotmail account, and those are going to come up a lot in this podcast.
Okay.
But I found an email because I had taken my shirt off and like just thrown it out of the ring, and somebody who was like a stagehand or whatever just threw it into the crowd to somebody. And I was like, no, I need that shirt back. That's my only shirt. That's my only shirt. I need it back.
They
So
didn't have like the merch guys like they do now, where they just
they
give
did,
you
but
the shirts?
they weren't bringing Zack Ryder's basic shirt to the building.
I see. Okay. All
right? So I found these emails that I don't think they know I'm on the email chain. And they're
Right.
talking about how like Zack Ryder made like a girl cry. So can we please send him like a John Cena shirt or something like that? And then I respond like, I'm sorry, but it's my only shirt. I bought it myself. I'm trying to, get publicity for it. Sorry, I needed it back. Something like that.
Right.
I'm paraphrasing.
Right.
But
This is, wow, that's insane.
yeah.
So the episode itself is 3 minutes and 47 seconds. Was there any thought process to like how long these things were going to be?
Yeah. I
Back in
wanted
the
to
day, YouTube videos that like they wanted you to be shorter. Like, I mean,
Today
that was
or
kind
that
of like
day?
the formula.
Today, what are you saying?
I mean, I feel like back in the day, like
Back in the
videos-
day, it was like 3 minutes was like snackable, boom.
Yes,
Watch it
exactly.
while you're taking a dump.
Right. Now we're putting up 20-minute vlogs where you're looking at
but I
maximum
think
sweat
that's what
figures.
people
and-
like now.
Right. Yes, I agree.
At the time, yes, I tried to keep them around that 3 or 4 minute time period.
Right. And obviously later on they get longer, 6 minutes.
Some of them get
instead
longer, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at these notes here. I have down the flip camera. I have, the background, the transitions, the autographs. What about that elite figure?
Okay.
That's the first?
Huge.
Yeah.
I'm going to do something on this show, guys. I'm going to track things. Okay. So
Okay.
there's a lot of things I'm going to track, and as the episodes go on, I'll add more things to my list. But currently, right now, I'm tracking characters. Okay. So the first character debuted on this show, Zack Ryder.
Okay.
Okay. This is your first appearance in Z True Long Island Story. I'm sure you'll have many more. But also, the other thing that I want to track is action figures. Obviously, if you don't know, Matt is the Michael Jordan of wrestling figure collecting. He has his own wrestling figure podcast. Figures are very important. So I want to see how many times action figures come into play in these 100 episodes.
Now, full disclosure, I wasn't really collecting at this time.
Right.
Because, not to bore you with figure talk, but Jax had the license for so long. I had a huge collection. They lost the license. And I was heartbroken that I had to almost start over with Mattel.
Okay.
So I refused. And then, I wasn't in any lineup. So I really refused
Okay.
to buy any figures. But then my elite figure came out. And what I also, now that we're thinking about this or talking about this, wasn't there a show called like The Soup on E?
Yes.
I think that's where I got a lot of influence from. Like I wanted to take topical things and apply them to me.
Got it.
You know what I'm saying? So
100%.
The Rock comes back, and I'm about to talk about The Rock, but I plug my new action figure, and then I do something silly with The Rock action figure and me.
Right.
And I must have went to Ringside Collectibles to get
Your figure.
The Rock and that ring and the Zack Ryder because I wasn't collecting figures at the time.
They didn't send you a bunch of your own, or
They might have.
when this came out, you were really excited though. This
Yeah.
Elite.
Oh my God, of course.
So this is ECW character, one-legged tights Elite?
Yes.
Okay.
I think also my basic came out at the same time. Maybe it came out first. I'm not quite sure the timetable. I think actually the basic in trunks comes out before the one-legged Elite, which is kind of weird.
Right.
But
interesting.
But yeah, I wanted to plug the figure. And of course, The Rock came back, do something timely with that.
Right, for sure. All right. And
which is also weird, starting the year doing action figure, figure photography with The Rock, and then at the end of the year, Rock's in the ring, they're chanting for me. So kind of pretty cool.
Wow, interesting. You start versus The Rock. Holy crap. Wow, interesting. All right. Were you afraid at all? Bro, you cut to yourself playing with action figures in a ring in 2011. You talk about this a lot on the Major Wrestling Figure podcast about how, man, if Undertaker heard that there were some guys in his locker room playing with action figures like in 2004, like there'd be problems. So 2011, you put out in public on YouTube a video of you playing yourself. It's just so crazy. Not now. Now everyone understands that's normal for you. Were you afraid of any kind of backlash or getting made fun of or anything?
I think I was just had enough. I had reached that breaking point, and I was going to go all in, so to speak. I was going to bet on myself and hope for the best. No real game plan except, as a kid, I knew I had to make it in WWE, and still at that time, I'm 25. I have to make it in WWE. I'm happy to be here, but I'm not just happy to be here. And I was so careful, and we'll get to this in future episodes. I didn't want to be negative or anti-WWE or bitter. I always wanted to be self-deprecating, funny, comical. And at the time, I think it's important to note, I'm a heel on TV.
Right.
Okay. So I don't mind looking like an idiot.
Sure.
Playing with the toys because I'm a heel. You know what I'm saying? So it's a weird fine line to walk. The next thing that you plug is Jericho's book because you wrote the foreword. How the heck does that happen? How do you write Jericho's foreword when you're not doing anything on Raw? My memory is shot. It really is. But some things do stick out. I remember being in Puerto Rico. I want to say it's Puerto Rico. Maybe it's not. I want to say it's Puerto Rico. And Jericho is writing his book. He's talking about his book. I think he mentions that he got Foley to write the foreword. And I said something like, hey, bro, like, how come you didn't ask me to write the foreword?
Mm-hmm.
And like, as a joke, I write one via Twitter.
Okay.
Right. And then he takes it and puts it in the book as a bonus forward without even telling me.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Which was a huge deal for me.
Right.
I thought it was great.
Yeah.
So I say, like, in the book or on the episode, you got to buy the book, but it's genuinely in there.
Yeah.
I'm a published author.
That's cool. I love that.
Published writer, whatever you want to say.
All right. And then the last thing you sort of do, in my opinion, that's big in this episode is for no reason at all. You just start singing a boy band song. This is also on my notes. So I'm singing Justin Bieber. I had Bieber fever at that time. This is before he really gets big, in my opinion. Bieber, okay. All right. Yeah, it's not
Justin
a boy
Bieber.
Band. Yeah.
And I'm also wearing headphones with cords on them, so I'm really dating myself.
As we're both wearing headphones with cords.
Yeah. I mean, yes, but ours are plugged into like recording devices.
Right.
I think I had been doing some videos like on Twitter where I'm singing, and I would, so I was just kind of incorporating that. Like I said, I wasn't afraid to look like a fool.
True or false? You were in choir in high school.
I was in concert choir in high school. You had to try out for that, so you couldn't just like be in it.
What was the song you used to try out?
Oh, I don't remember. It wasn't like you weren't doing any cool songs,
Oh, okay. That was not like
Crescendo.
American Idol,
Crescendo did the cool songs.
Okay.
I was just in concert choir.
All right, so you just sing this song for no reason. You really get into it.
Get that fist pumping down.
Right, but I wrote kind of like a really smart first episode. You just do a bunch of random stuff. You do a boy band thing, figures, you plug your merch. It's really so much Matt Cardona still now to this day, but it's also like a snapshot of what the show will become. But
that's
just
exactly
crazier.
what it is. It's almost like a teaser. Like, here's everything I can show you week 1.
Yeah.
Here are the kind of things you're going to see if you continue to watch. That's kind of what it was. Even at the end, I say something about like Kesha liking my beard. That really dates myself with Kesha, who was really hot in 2011.
Right.
But yeah, and at the end, I'm looking like I say the woo woo woo, you know it, like very slow.
But you don't have follow me on Twitter.
I don't have any of that yet. Yeah. I'm doing the woo woo woo, you know it, very slow because I'm a heel, and I remember I think while I'm in ECW, I start doing it as a woo 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 like that, and Vince wants it more like woo woo woo. So that's how I
why does Vince care about?
Because it's more, it's more serious. I don't know, whatever. So that's how I'm doing it. But whatever, I don't know. So I it just those are my notes. But like you said, it's just a little taste,
right?
It's like a, I don't know, like a pizza pie, but every slice is different.
Yep,
a bunch of different toppings.
There's going to be some crazy stuff coming up. Hey, debuts. Chiapetta, Big O, your dad, like we'll see when they come in, factor in and what happens going forward. We're going to see these views go up, go down. We're going to see when WWE people start popping in and wanting to talk about it.
And one thing I knew going forward is that if I say this podcast is going to come out every Thursday or this YouTube show is going to come out every Thursday, it better come out every Thursday.
Oh, baby. I'm with you.
Now, there wasn't an exact time. It would just come out Thursday because I'd be editing it, filming it, writing it all myself. So some days or some weeks, I wasn't on a live event, so I'd have more time than others. Eventually, I guess to a point where I'm on 5 days a week. And you always hear wrestlers over-exaggerating how long they're on the road. They count like their days that they fly home and the days they fly out as days on the road. I'm talking literally shows. I was on 5 shows a week.
Right.
I would do the Raw live event, the Raw live event, the Raw live event, the Raw TV, and then I would go to SmackDown. So that's 5 days, right? So I would fly home on Wednesdays and be home, whatever. I get home at 11 a.m., 12, whatever. So half a day, Thursday, fly out Friday. So I was home a day and a half, and I'm still filming these, writing these, editing these all on my own. That's, how it gets towards the end.
Right.
But at the time, I had no problem working hard. And I'm a firm believer in this.
You still do it now where it's 3 a.m. on a Saturday and you're like, Mark, where's the email to the...
Yeah. If you love what you do, then it doesn't feel like work. So I did not care that I was putting in all this work. And obviously that first episode, it looks so bare bones. It probably took me hours to edit that, because I didn't know what I was doing.
For sure.
And eventually I add transitions, and eventually a lot of fans do help, and we'll give them credit when credit is due.
Yeah.
For supplying me like lower thirds or graphics or songs. So I can't wait to see the evolution of this show, and
we're gonna have guests.
Downs.
Yeah, this was a longer one. Some might be long, some might be short. We're going to have guests on. We're going to have these people that made music. We're going to have the hey, your dad's going to be on in some way. So
yeah, and the end goal, I would love to do a reunion episode, but I want the demand to really be there as opposed to just dropping it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. All right. And then the last thing I want to ask you about this episode specifically, was there any response at all to this, or was it completely no sold until the next episode?
By like Office, you mean?
Anybody. Did Ziggler walk up to you and go, I saw your thing, funny?
So
anybody.
I do think some of the boys saw it. This is where my memory is not good, but I do recall in these early episodes, I don't know if it's this one exactly, where guys like CM Punk or John Cena are retweeting it, which is huge for me.
Hell yeah. Okay.
Because back then, Twitter was so small, a retweet was big.
Yep.
Now you can retweet whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, even Twitter, I don't think it's as powerful as people think it is. Mm-hmm. At the same time, it is very powerful.
Right.
But, right now I have 2-point-something million followers. That doesn't mean 2-point-something million people are going to listen to this podcast when I post the link. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I wish it worked that way. It doesn't work that way. But at the time, to have a Cena or a Punk or a Ziggler or whatever retweet it was huge.
Right. All right, so each week we're going to give you guys an opportunity to ask Matt a question. I would love to keep these more specific to that episode, I would love it if you guys watched the episode and then ask a question based on that. Know that I'm going to ask some questions.
It has to be episode specific.
Okay.
That's how I think this works. And guys, going forward, use the hashtag #KnowYourBro.
Love it.
And you will get an 8x10 signed, sealed, and delivered to you. Every week we'll give one out.
Perfect.
So what is the question this week? Just use the hashtag #KnowYourBro. Ask the question. Make sure you watch the episode. So if you want to be on next week, if you want a chance to win the 8x10, watch episode 2, which is on youtube.com/TheMattCardona.
Yep.
And ask a question.
Right. All right. This is from Adam B. at PlayDUC. How much do you attribute the show to your parents after they gift you the flip camera that you talk about? Have you ever sat down and had a discussion with them just to let them know how much it means to have parents that have supported you your whole life?
Oh, I mean, the support from my parents is incredible. Do I credit them for the show because they got me the camera? No. But, I mean, I do credit them for so much, for supporting me my whole life, and especially, like, with this show. Like, my dad becomes, like, a character in the show.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? My dad, drives to, I don't want to spoil her. When I win the U.S. title in Baltimore, he drives to Baltimore. My dad was super supportive. My mom, too. But it's not like they're like, ooh, we're going to get him this flip camera for Christmas. And he's going to start this. That's not what happened.
Right.
I asked for the camera.
Right. Okay.
So, I mean, thank you, Mom and Dad, for the camera.
Sure.
And I credit them so much for all of the support that they gave me and love over the years. It means so much. And to have them, the majority of my special moments in WWE, not only are they there, but they're somehow, if they're not front row, at least they're there,
Yep.
So it's very, very special that I have memories like that. And without their support, this wouldn't have been possible. But, let's be honest. We can't thank them for the show because they got me the camera.
Okay. Got it.
But yeah, and the camera is so special because, like, I tried to, like, load this. I have another one too. There's a second one. This is the original one.
Then you get a better one?
And I get, like, it's still a flip though.
Right.
It's actually like chiapettas that I take.
Okay.
And that one won't even load up.
Right. Okay.
So this one, like, still loads up. The screen's all cracked. It's crazy what this flip camera becomes because, like, I guess at the time you could use your cell phone for videos, but maybe not. I don't even remember. It was just a different era.
There's iPhones, so yeah.
Yeah,
but I think the phone videos aren't even close. In 2011, I got a flip camera too. And I had a phone that could record video, but I think the phone video would be like 480p, and then the flip was like you could get HD. So right. I think that was the deal.
The flip, like, I end up, it becomes such a trademark to me. I end up coming to the ring with it.
I think we need a flip camera shirt.
What's that?
Well, I think we need a flip camera shirt of some sort.
We could do that.
Yeah.
It was not with any of my action figures, but it's in one of the video games, which I think is cool.
Oh, the flip camera.
Yeah.
That's neat.
It just became like my signature, and it was legitimate. Like, I brought that thing everywhere.
Yeah. Did you have a special bag or
yeah, there might have been a little bag. But I brought it everywhere because it was, it was so essential to me. I'd bring it to the ring with me. I'd capture footage there, capture footage backstage in the apartment, out on the town. It was such a pivotal piece where nowadays, you just use your cell phone.
Right.
And even this, there was no, like, front facing camera. So a lot of the shots, it's like, whoa,
I think I'm in it.
Like,
yeah,
so
exactly.
I don't even think I had a tripod for the first episode. I think I just, like, stacked it up on a bunch of things. And like you can see, I have the footage, like, there's a bunch of tests, like, to make sure I'm in the scene, in the shot.
Oh yeah. I know,
what I'm saying?
Because for sure.
Because there's no way to tell.
Right.
Huh. It's just a wild, like, evolution, of technology, not only over these past 10 years, but even within the 2 years of the episodes.
Right. All right. Well, I mentioned the shirt thing. I'm going to tell you this right now, Matt. On the YouTube video, I'm going to try to wear a different wrestling shirt for every episode of the show. Okay. I'm saying that right now for everybody who's watching. So today I'm wearing our Major Wrestling Figure Podcast turtle themed T-shirt, but Ninja Turtle themed. But you can also find some MC True Long Island Story shirts already available, right?
That's right. So the MC True Long Island Story, the logo shirt is on ProWrestlingTees.com/Major WF Pod. But there's also a Broski of the Week shirt, and the shirt that I'm wearing in that episode, TTD Wrestling has updated it. So it's Matt Cardona. That's also, those shirts are on ProWrestlingTees.com/Matt Cardona. So we're getting the merch. We're going to start doing the plugs. And here's another thing, guys. Like, if you think, like, I'm going to start, like, I guess my hair is kind of spiked, but not like how it was then. But I'm not going to start wearing the glasses and the headbands and doing the fist pump and the woo-woo-woo, you know. Like, we're not going backwards here. This is a trip down memory lane. It's something I'm very proud of. And in the 10 years, it just flew by.
Yep.
Right. So it's fun. It's also scary to look back at that time. And I hope you guys really enjoy it. And listen, all feedback is encouraged.
Sure.
We want this show to be enjoyable for everybody. So whatever we can do, I'm just excited and nervous, but it should be a fun little journey.
I want to try to get a lot of stuff out of you. I want to ask you some, we'll get to some points where we're asking some serious questions. I also do want to get that snapshot of pro wrestling. So, you know, going forward, we'll talk more about what's going on in pro wrestling at the time, you know, in addition to just your career. So,
yeah. And I think also, you know, next week or in every following episode, we'll have a little follow-up. Oh, damn, I forgot about this.
Sure.
Or, oh, someone tweeted me about this. Here's this memory.
Yep.
So I think that's the best part about all this. And, you know, just like the first time, I want you guys along for the ride. You made it so successful the first time with that Rider Revolution. I don't really have a catchy name for this, but, you know, I thank you guys for the support over all these years, and this is going to be a fun little journey, and I can't wait for you guys to be a part of it.
Cool. Well, I think that there's only one way to sign off the show. If you would take it away, please.
Well, I'm not going to do the same ending because I can't even say woo, you know it anymore. WWE owns that. I will say, I don't even have a Facebook page. So I can't
like me on Facebook.
I don't even have a Facebook page. WWE took that. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram. Instagram's the thing now.
Yeah.
Instagram wasn't around then.
Right.
Buy all the merch on Pro Wrestling Tees. I guess I can still say this because it's the jingle at the end.
Yeah.
Take care. Spike your hair.
Just take care.